The planet Lysara was famous across the galaxy for its floating cities and gardens that glowed under the soft light of twin suns. Crystals taller than mountains reflected every color of the spectrum, casting rainbows across the sky. In the center of the largest city stood the royal palace, made of shining violet crystal, its spires reaching into the clouds. Inside the palace, life was usually orderly and peaceful, but today, panic had gripped the entire court. Princess Lyria, the only daughter of King Aranos, was gravely ill. Her pale blue skin had grown almost translucent, and her bioluminescent veins, which usually shimmered gently, pulsed weakly. The royal healers had tried every medicine and treatment known to the Lysaran people. Nothing worked. Every hour the princess grew weaker. King Aranos paced the grand hall, his long cloak swaying behind him. His eyes, normally calm and sharp, were filled with worry. He had ruled Lysara for over 4 centuries, and he had faced rebellions, natural disasters, and even enemy invasions. But seeing his daughter suffer had shaken him like nothing else ever could. "Father," Lyria whispered from her bed, her voice barely audible. I feel strange. My body, it is not listening to me." The king knelt beside her. "Do not fear, my daughter. We will find a way. I promise you." The royal healers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, Elder Thaven, spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, we have tried all treatments available in our archives. Her body rejects everything." "I fear—" "Do not speak of fear." King Aranos cut him off sharply. "There must be someone somewhere who can save her. I will not lose my daughter." A hush fell over the room. For centuries, Lysara had prided itself on its advanced medical knowledge, but even its greatest experts could not understand Lyria's mysterious illness. Some whispered that it was a rare virus, dormant in the atmosphere of the planet, triggered by an unknown cause. Others thought it might be a strange reaction between her energy field and her biology. No one knew for certain. A young aide entered the room, bowing deeply. "Your Majesty," he said, "a human doctor from the distant star system of Solara has responded to your call for help. He is known for solving cases that others cannot." "Humans," Elder Thaven scoffed. "Your Majesty, human physiology is entirely different. Their medical knowledge is primitive compared to ours. It is impossible they can help her." King Aranos's face grew stern. "Do not question my judgment. If there is even the slightest chance that a human can save her, I will take it. Send word. Bring this doctor here immediately." Within hours, the human arrived. His ship was unlike anything the Lysarans had ever seen. It was sleek, made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and it moved with quiet speed. No elaborate energy fields or glowing crystals, just simple, efficient design. The human stepped out tall and calm, with a presence that seemed to fill the room. He wore a white coat and carried a small bag filled with medical instruments. His dark eyes scanned the palace hall with curiosity, not arrogance. King Aranos studied him carefully. "You are the one who claims you can help my daughter?" The human nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. I understand alien physiology can be very different, but I will do my best. I work with what I observe and what I learn from the patient. That has always worked." Lyria, lying weakly on her crystal bed, looked at the human with a mixture of fear and hope. He was different from anyone she had ever met. Will you help me?" she whispered. "I will," the human said softly. "But I need to understand your body first. Can you allow me to examine you?" The princess nodded faintly. Elder Thaven muttered under his breath, worried about allowing a human near the princess. Some of the other healers whispered that this could be a disaster, yet King Aranos remained firm. The human began carefully examining Lyria. He observed her pulse, measured her energy fields, and took samples of her blood and bioluminescent fluids. Unlike the Lysaran healers, he seemed calm even as her body responded unpredictably. "Her bioluminescence is weak," he said aloud, mostly to himself, "and her cellular energy is unstable. But there is a pattern, a rhythm. I just need to understand it fully." The Lysaran healers frowned. "Pattern? What do you mean? We have studied her every second of every day." "Sometimes," the human explained, "the answer is not in what you already know. It is in what you observe and connect. You can have all the knowledge in the galaxy, but if you cannot see the connections, you cannot cure her." He spent hours by her bedside, adjusting small instruments, running tests, and observing her reactions. The princess, though weak, began to feel a strange sense of comfort from his presence. Unlike the healers, he did not treat her as fragile or fragile only because she was royalty. He treated her as a patient, a person who needed understanding. As the twin suns began to set over Lysara, the human sat back and looked at the results. "I understand now," he said quietly. "This is not just a disease. It is a reaction between your body's energy field and a dormant virus in the atmosphere. It has never affected anyone before because your energy pattern is unique. Can you cure it?" Lyria asked weakly, hope lighting her blue eyes. "I believe I can," he replied. "But it will not be simple. I must use techniques that are new for your people. It is a risk, but it is the only chance." King Aranos's face was tense. "Do whatever it takes. I will allow no harm to come to her. But if this human can save her, you will have my full trust." The human nodded. "I understand. But I must ask for your cooperation and patience. The procedure will require both your help, Princess, and the palace's support." The princess, sensing the human's sincerity, managed a small nod. "I will do whatever it takes." That night the palace was quiet except for the soft hum of its energy fields. Lyria lay in her bed, and the human worked by her side, preparing for the procedure that might save her life. Though no one else in the palace could fully understand what he was doing, there was a sense of hope that had not been felt for many days. The human paused to speak quietly to the princess. "Do not fear. Your body is strong. I only need to guide it. Together we can overcome this." Lyria's lips curved into a faint smile. For the first time since her illness began, she felt a spark of hope. She realized that this human, strange and unfamiliar though he was, might be the only one who could save her. Outside the palace, Lysara's twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the crystal city in colors of deep violet and gold. In the quiet of the night there was a fragile peace. The fate of the princess rested not just on alien knowledge or human skill, but on the courage and ingenuity of someone willing to try what no one else could. And so, in the shadowed halls of the royal palace, the first steps toward her recovery began. The human doctor had arrived, bringing hope where none had existed before. But the path ahead was dangerous and uncertain. One wrong step, one miscalculation, and the princess could be lost forever. Yet in that quiet moment, as he observed her chest rising and falling with a fragile rhythm, the human was determined. He would save her, no matter what it took. The night was long, the stars outside the palace shining like distant eyes watching over them. Inside, a fragile bond was forming between a human and an alien princess, one that could change the course of her life, the future of the royal family, and perhaps even the fate of the galaxy itself. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin. But for now there was hope. And sometimes hope was the strongest medicine of all. The next morning, the royal palace of Lysara was alive with a strange mixture of hope and tension. Word had spread that the human doctor had begun his work with Princess Lyria. Some in the court were curious, others skeptical, and a few whispered warnings of disaster. Humans, after all, were strangers to Lysara. Their bodies were unlike any Lysarans, and their knowledge, though advanced in some ways, was unfamiliar to the scholars and healers who had devoted their lives to understanding life itself. But King Aranos had made his decision. This human would have full access to the princess, and no one, not even the most senior elder, was allowed to interfere. The human doctor, whose name was Dr. Kale, entered the medical chamber early. The room was filled with Lysaran instruments, devices that emitted soft glows and projected complex patterns in the air. For Kale, most of the technology was unfamiliar. He had never seen tools that could map a person's energy field directly, or devices that could read bioluminescent patterns. Yet he approached them not with fear, but with curiosity and focus. Princess Lyria lay on the bed, still pale and weak. Her large, luminous eyes opened as he entered, and she managed a faint smile. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Good morning, Princess," Cal replied gently. "How did you sleep?" I do not know," she admitted. "My dreams were strange, and sometimes frightening, but I feel a little better than yesterday." "That is good," Kyle said. "It means your body is responding, even in small ways. Small signs can tell us a lot about how to help you." He began examining her with careful hands. He did not rush. Instead, he watched, listened, and observed. The Lysaran healers stood back, watching him silently. Some of them frowned. His methods were different. He did not immediately reach for medicines or invasive treatments. He used observation first, something simple but often overlooked. "Your body," Kale said softly, "is more complex than I expected. Your energy flows are beautiful but irregular. They are like rivers that have suddenly changed course. We need to understand why before we can fix them." Elder Thaven, unable to remain silent, spoke. "And you believe you can understand this? In hours when our entire lifetimes of study have not?" Kale did not look annoyed. Instead, he turned to the elder and spoke calmly. "I do not claim to know everything, Elder Thaven, but sometimes a fresh perspective can see patterns that years of study cannot. I will need your help in understanding the instruments, but the key to her recovery lies not just in tools, but in observation and careful reasoning." Thaven looked uncertain but remained silent. King Aranos, standing at the doorway, simply nodded in approval. Over the next few hours, Kale worked quietly with Lyria. He placed small sensors along her body, each one recording subtle changes in her energy fields. He studied the rhythms of her breathing, the pulse of her bioluminescent veins, and even the micro changes in her skin's color. He asked questions gently, encouraging her to describe what she felt. "It feels like my body is cold in some places and warm in others," she said softly, "but not like normal cold and warm, strange. Like something is moving under my skin." "Good observation," Kyle said. "That is exactly the kind of detail we need. Your body is trying to tell us something, even if it cannot speak in words." The Laceran healers exchanged uneasy looks. They were not accustomed to being spoken to like this. Patients were usually treated with authority, not as active participants in their own recovery. But Kale seemed to understand something they had forgotten, that the patient's experience was a valuable source of information. As the day went on, Kale discovered patterns that no Laceran healer had noticed. He realized that Lyria's energy fields were reacting to a dormant virus in the atmosphere, a rare particle that only affected certain unique energy patterns. The virus was not lethal in itself, but it disrupted the body's energy flows in ways that caused weakness, nausea, and confusion. "This is rare," Kale said quietly, mostly to himself. "I have never seen anything exactly like this. But it explains everything." The healers leaned in closer. "A virus? From the atmosphere? How did it reach her body without harming anyone else?" Kale looked at them with calm certainty. "Her energy pattern is unique. The virus interacts with her specific frequency, disrupting her cells. No one else has this pattern, so no one else is affected." The court murmured in surprise. Lyria herself looked relieved. For the first time, it seemed someone truly understood her condition. Can you remove it?" she asked, her voice weak but curious. Kale nodded slowly. "We can, but it will require a method that is new to your people. It will take time, careful observation, and precision. One wrong step could make things worse, but with patience and cooperation, I believe we can restore your body to health." King Aranos stepped forward. "You have my support. Use whatever you need. Save my daughter." Kale bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. But I need the princess to trust me as well. We are a team. I will guide you through this, but your cooperation is essential." Lyria managed a small nod. "I trust you," she said softly. "I feel safe when you are here." The words were simple, but they carried great weight. The human did not see her as a fragile alien princess or a puzzle. He saw her as a person, deserving of care, respect, and understanding. That simple respect was something Lyria had never experienced fully within the walls of her own court. Throughout the day, Kyle continued his work. He combined human medical knowledge with observation of alien energy fields. He experimented carefully, always noting how Lyria responded. Sometimes her body reacted strangely, glowing more brightly in one area or pulsing weakly in another. Kale adjusted his methods with gentle precision, never forcing anything, always guiding her body to find balance. The Laceran healers began to notice something remarkable. Kale's methods, though different, were showing results. Lyria's strength seemed to improve ever so slightly. Her energy pulses became steadier and the faint color began returning to her pale skin. Even Elder Thaven, who had been openly skeptical, could not deny the change. By evening, Lyria was able to sit up with Kale's help. The room, which had been filled with tension and fear that morning, now carried a fragile sense of hope. "You see?" Kale said gently, helping her adjust her posture. "Your body is stronger than it seems. It is learning to fight the virus. with a little guidance. Lyria smiled faintly, the first real smile since her illness had begun. I feel better. Not fully, but better, Kale nodded. This is only the beginning. Tomorrow we will begin the next step. It will be more challenging, but it is necessary for your full recovery. The princess looked at him with curiosity and gratitude. I have never met a human before. You are different. Not only in your knowledge, but in how you care, how you listen. Kyle smiled quietly. Different does not always mean worse. Sometimes different is what is needed to solve a problem no one else can. King Aranos, watching from the doorway, felt a deep relief. The human doctor was not just skilled, he was courageous, patient, and wise. Perhaps more importantly, he cared for his daughter as a person, not merely as a princess or a patient. For the first time in days, the king allowed himself to hope. That night, Lysera's twin moons rose over the crystal city, casting pale silver light through the palace windows. Lyria rested with Kale sitting nearby, monitoring her energy fields and preparing for the next phase of treatment. The court, though still wary, began to whisper words of cautious admiration. Outside, the wind carried the soft hum of the city, a sound of life and movement. Inside, a fragile bond was forming between human and alien, a bond built on trust, observation, and the quiet courage to try what others would not. Tomorrow would bring greater challenges. The procedure to remove the virus from Lyria's body would be complex, even dangerous, but Kale was ready. He would guide the princess through it, and together they would face whatever came next. In a palace filled with crystals and light, hope had returned. And sometimes hope was the most powerful medicine of all. The morning light streamed through the palace windows, casting long violet shadows across the walls. Princess Lyria sat on her bed, her blue eyes focused on the human doctor, Dr. Kale. Today was the day. The day he would begin the procedure that might save her life. The tension in the palace was palpable. King Aranos stood nearby, his hands clasped behind his back. The court had gathered quietly, curious but cautious. Some whispered doubts, questioning whether a human could truly handle something so dangerous. Elder Thaven, usually confident in his own knowledge, paced nervously at the edge of the room. Kale adjusted the instruments around Lyria's bed. Small devices unfamiliar to the Lyserans, yet precise and efficient. He had spent days studying her energy patterns, her bioluminescent rhythms, and the virus that had invaded her body. Now he was ready to act. Princess, Kale said softly, this procedure will be different. I will guide your body, but it will not be easy. You may feel strange sensations, warmth, tingling, even temporary weakness. It is normal. You must trust me completely. Lyria nodded, gripping the edge of her bed. I trust you, she whispered. Please, save me. Kale smiled gently. We will, together. The first part of the procedure involved aligning her energy flows. Kyle placed his hands lightly on her shoulders and wrists, reading the subtle currents of her bioluminescence. He adjusted the instruments to resonate with her energy patterns. Slowly, her veins began to glow more steadily and the irregular pulses started to synchronize. Good, Kale said quietly. Your body is responding. Keep breathing steadily. Some of the Lysaran healers leaned closer, fascinated. They had never seen a human manipulate energy flows with such precision. Kale combined careful observation with intuitive adjustments, guiding Lyria's body without forcing it. Every movement was measured, every adjustment deliberate. But the procedure was not without risk. As Kale began the next phase, he needed to introduce a controlled energy wave to counteract the virus. This energy was alien to her body, and even a small mistake could overload her system. Your body might feel very heavy, Kale warned. Do not panic. Let it happen. I will guide you through it. Lyria closed her eyes, trying to trust him. The energy wave began, flowing gently at first, then growing stronger. She felt warmth spreading through her veins, then tingling, as though tiny sparks moved beneath her skin. For a moment, fear gripped her. She thought she could not endure it. Stay calm, Kyle said firmly, placing a steadying hand on her arm. Your body is strong. Focus on your breathing. Slowly, she began to follow his instructions, matching her breath to the rhythm of the energy wave. Her body trembled, but she did not resist. Kyle continued, adjusting the instruments in response to her reactions. Suddenly, a surge of energy caused her veins to glow brightly, brighter than Kale had ever seen. Some of the court gasped. Elder Thaven's eyes widened in alarm. "Stop," Thaven shouted. "You are harming her! Human, do you not see what is happening?" Kale did not hesitate. "This is normal," he replied calmly. "Her body is reacting. We are close to stabilizing the energy. Trust me." The tension in the room was unbearable. The court held its breath as the princess's body pulsed with bright, uneven light. For a moment it seemed as though everything might go wrong, but Kale's hands moved with precision, adjusting the energy wave and guiding it to harmonize with her natural flows. Slowly the light began to smooth, the glow evened out, and her pulse steadied. Lyria exhaled sharply, weak but conscious. I feel lighter," she whispered. "Something changed," Kale nodded, smiling faintly. "Good. That is the first part. The virus is weakening. Your body is learning to fight it." King Arano stepped closer, his voice filled with relief. "You have done it." "My daughter is safe?" Kale shook his head. "Not yet, Your Majesty. This is only the beginning. We must continue carefully." The next phase was even riskier. Kale needed to purify her bloodstream, guiding her body to expel the virus without collapsing her energy systems. He introduced a sequence of controlled pulses, small but precise, that resonated with her bioluminescent veins. Lyria's body reacted immediately. She felt as if invisible hands were moving through her veins, gently lifting the virus from her cells. It is strange," Lyria whispered, "like something is moving inside me, but not painful." "That is exactly what should happen," Kale said softly. "Your body is learning to heal itself. The virus cannot resist your energy patterns now." But just as progress seemed steady, a sudden spike in her readings caused Kale's brow to furrow. The virus was resisting, adapting in ways he had not anticipated. The room filled with tension again as the instruments flickered. "Her vitals are dropping," Elder Thaven shouted. "You must stop this now." Kale's hands did not waver. "No. If we stop, the virus will recover and her condition will worsen. I will adjust the pulse now." With careful precision, he recalibrated the energy waves using a combination of human intuition and Lyceran technology. The pulse harmonized with her energy flows once more. Slowly, her vitals began to stabilize, and the glow in her veins returned to a soft, steady shimmer. The court exhaled in relief. Even the skeptical Elder Thaven could not hide his astonishment. You have done it," Thaven said quietly. "She is improving." Kale nodded, though he did not relax completely. "Improvement is not recovery, but it is a good sign. We will continue this carefully until the virus is fully neutralized." For the first time in days, Lyria felt a real sense of hope. Her body, though still weak, seemed to respond to the treatment. She turned her eyes toward Kale. I cannot believe this. I feel alive again." Kale smiled gently. "You are strong, Princess. You fought through every moment of this procedure. Your body is healing because you allowed it to. That is the key. Trust and cooperation." King Arano stepped forward, his voice filled with gratitude. "Human, you have my deepest thanks. My daughter's life is in your hands, and you have proven worthy of it." Kale bowed slightly. "I am honored, Your Majesty. But the work is not finished. We must continue carefully, step by step." As the day ended, the palace was filled with a cautious optimism. The court, once doubtful, began to see that the human doctor was not only skilled but also brave and precise. He faced risks no Lyceran healer would dare attempt, yet he remained calm and focused. Later that evening, Kale sat beside Lyria as she rested. Her body glowed softly, a sign that the procedure had succeeded for now. He gently adjusted the instruments, ensuring the energy flows remained stable. You saved me today," Lyria said softly, her voice filled with gratitude. I do not know how to thank you." "By getting better," Kale said with a small smile. "By letting your body heal. That is thanks enough." "But you risked so much," she said. "The others said it was dangerous. They said you could fail." "I am willing to take risks when lives are at stake," Kale replied simply. "It is part of being a doctor. And it is part of being human. We do not always have the advantage of experience with alien bodies, but we have courage, observation, and creativity. That is enough to make a difference." Lyria looked at him thoughtfully. "I have never met anyone like you. You listen, you understand. You do not treat me like a puzzle. You treat me like me," Kale smiled quietly, "because that is who you are. A person, not just a princess, not just a patient. A person." The night was quiet. the palace glowing softly under Lysara's twin moons. For the first time since her illness began, Lyria felt hope. She was still weak and the virus had not been completely removed. But she knew she was not alone. The human doctor was by her side, guiding her body, and he would not give up. Outside, the crystal spires of the city reflected the moonlight, casting shimmering patterns across the palace halls. Inside, a fragile bond had formed between human and princess, one built on trust, courage, and the willingness to face danger together. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The next phase of treatment would be even more complex, requiring precision, patience, and bravery. But for now, there was hope. And sometimes, hope was the most powerful force of all. For Princess Lyria, her life had been hanging by a thread. And now, thanks to a human doctor willing to face the impossible, that thread was pulling her back from the edge. The days after the dangerous procedure were filled with cautious optimism. Princess Lyria was still weak, but her strength was returning. She could sit for longer periods, speak more clearly, and even laugh softly at small jokes. The glow of her bioluminescent veins had returned to its natural shimmer, steady and calm. King Aranos, who had spent sleepless nights by her side, began to feel a cautious sense of relief. Dr. Kale, the human doctor, had earned the respect of the palace in ways no one had expected. He was methodical and patient, but also humble. He never boasted about his skill. Instead, he focused entirely on Lyria's recovery. He adjusted instruments, observed her responses, and guided her energy flows with a delicate precision that seemed almost like an art. The court, however, was not entirely at ease. Some advisors whispered among themselves, questioning whether a human, an outsider, deserved such influence in the royal palace. "He is not one of us," Elder Thaven murmured quietly to a colleague. "He does not understand our ways, our people. One day this arrogance may cost us." But King Aranos would hear none of it. He had witnessed Kale's skill, bravery, and unwavering care for his daughter. To him, these qualities mattered far more than tradition or suspicion. One morning, as Kale adjusted a device over Lyria's bed, King Aranos entered the room. "Kyle," he said, his voice firm yet kind, "you have saved my daughter's life. Not only her life, but her hope, her spirit. For that, you have my gratitude." Kyle looked up, his expression calm. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did my duty. The princess was willing to cooperate and trust me. That is what made it possible." The king nodded. "That is true. But skill alone is not enough. It takes courage to face what you faced in the procedure yesterday, and you have earned my trust, Kale. Not only as a doctor, but as someone whose judgment I can rely on." The words surprised Kale, though he hid his reaction behind a polite nod. He had expected gratitude, but the trust of a king was something far greater. Meanwhile, Princess Lyria had begun to regain more independence. She could walk short distances in the palace gardens, the soft crystal paths glowing beneath her feet. Kale accompanied her, adjusting instruments lightly to maintain the balance of her energy. "You saved me," she said softly as they walked. I do not know how to repay you." "You repay me by living," Kale said simply, "by continuing to grow stronger each day." She looked at him thoughtfully. "You are different from anyone I have ever met. You do not act like the others. You listen, you understand, and you do not judge." Kale smiled faintly. "Sometimes understanding is more important than judgment, and sometimes the smallest act of care can make the greatest difference." As they walked, some members of the court observed silently. They saw how the princess responded to him, how her smile returned, and how even her gestures were more relaxed. Slowly, murmurs of approval replaced some of the doubt. Even Elder Thaven could not ignore the visible improvement in her health, but not everyone was pleased. Some of the royal advisors, jealous of Kale's influence, began plotting quietly. "The king trusts him too much," one whispered. "He is not one of us. He could manipulate the princess, or worse, use this favor to gain power." Yet King Aranos remained firm. "I will not allow fear or jealousy to cloud judgment. Kale has proven himself by saving Lyria. That alone is enough." One evening, the king called Kale into the grand hall. The walls shimmered with the reflected light of the twin moons, and the crystal floors echoed softly with their footsteps. "Kale," the king said, his voice steady, "your skill and courage have earned more than my gratitude. They have earned my favor. You have shown qualities that are rare, even among my own people. Patience, intelligence, and courage in the face of danger. For that, I offer you my trust and protection." Kyle inclined his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I do not seek power or favor. My only goal has been to help the princess recover." "Your humility is another reason I trust you," the king said. "But know this. Anyone who doubts or opposes you in this palace will answer to me. You have my full support." As Kale left the grand hall, he felt a sense of responsibility settle over him. Trust and favor were not just gifts, they were responsibilities. He knew that some would try to undermine him, and he would need to navigate both the medical challenges and the politics of the palace carefully. Back in the gardens, Lyria watched Kale as he adjusted a small instrument on a crystal pedestal. I feel stronger today," she said. "Stronger than I have in months." "You are," Kyle said, smiling. "Your body is responding well. The virus is weakening and your energy flows are stabilizing." She looked at him with admiration. "I have never met anyone like you. Not among humans, not among my people. You truly care. And it is not just for me. You treat everyone with respect." Kyle's expression softened. "Because every life is valuable. And sometimes the greatest difference comes from small acts of care. That is what medicine and life itself is about." Days passed and Lyria's health continued to improve. The glow of her veins grew steady and her strength returned gradually. Kale continued to monitor her, guiding the final stages of her recovery with careful precision. The Lissaran healers, once skeptical, now watched him with respect. Some even approached him for guidance, eager to learn from his methods. King Aranos, observing this transformation, felt a deep sense of relief. The human doctor had not only saved his daughter, but had also brought a new perspective to the palace. Courage, intelligence, and care, qualities often underestimated, had proven more powerful than the most advanced knowledge alone. One afternoon, as Lyria practiced walking along the crystal paths, Kale adjusted an instrument near her wrist. "You are ready for more independence," he said. "Your body can now regulate the virus without continuous guidance. The final step is simple: your daily practice and observation of your own energy flows." Lyria smiled, her strength returning fully. "I will do it," she said firmly. "I will not waste this second chance." Kale nodded. "Good. Remember, recovery is as much about patience and observation as it is about strength. Trust yourself, and your body will respond." That evening, the palace held a small celebration in honor of the princess's recovery. The court gathered, some still cautious, others openly admiring. Kale stood near Lyria, quiet but attentive. The king approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You have done more than save my daughter," the king said softly. "You have earned a place of trust in this palace, and I am grateful. Your actions remind me that courage and care are the greatest strengths a person can have." Kale bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to serve as best I can." As the celebration continued, Lyria approached Kale. I cannot thank you enough," she said, her eyes bright. "You saved me, and you helped me see something I had never noticed before, that even in fear and uncertainty there can be hope, and that even strangers can be heroes." Kale smiled quietly. "Hope is a powerful thing, Princess. And sometimes heroes are not born. They are made through courage, care, and determination." The court observed the exchange with quiet fascination. The human doctor had won more than respect. He had earned admiration, trust, and the beginnings of a bond with the princess that no one could ignore. Yet Kale knew the path ahead would not be without challenges. Some in the court still whispered doubts. Some sought to test his loyalty, and though Lyria was recovering, her health remained delicate. He would need vigilance, skill, and courage to navigate the coming days. For now, however, there was peace. Lyria's life had been saved. The king's favor had been earned, and the human doctor had shown that courage and care could transcend species, tradition, and doubt. The palace of Lysera shimmered in the moonlight, its crystal spires glowing softly. Inside, a bond had formed between human and princess, one built on trust, bravery, and the quiet strength of care. Kale had not only healed her body, he had inspired hope, respect, and admiration. Tomorrow, new challenges might arise, but today, the palace celebrated a small miracle: the recovery of the princess, and the recognition of a human's courage and skill. In the quiet of the night, as Kale monitored Lyria's energy flows one last time, he reflected on the journey so far. The path ahead would be complex, filled with both medical and political challenges. But he was ready. Together, he and the princess had faced the impossible and survived. Together, they would face whatever came next. The palace of Lysara shimmered in the early morning light, its crystal spires casting rainbows across the gardens. Princess Lyria had returned to full strength. Her pale blue skin glowed with health, and the steady shimmer of her bioluminescent veins reflected her renewed energy. The once terrifying illness that had consumed her body was now gone, and the human doctor who had saved her, Dr. Kale, was being acknowledged throughout the palace for his courage, intelligence, and skill. But the final chapter of Lyria's recovery had more than medicine at stake. The whispers of court intrigue, the jealousy of advisors, and the lingering doubt about a human's role in the palace had not completely disappeared. Kale understood this. Though he had earned the princess's trust, the king's favor, and the respect of most healers, some still watched his every move with suspicion. "Kyle," Lyria said softly, walking alongside him in the palace gardens, "I feel strong again." "Strong enough to face anything," Kale nodded. "Your strength comes from your courage, princess. My role was only to guide your body and teach it to fight the virus. The rest was you." She smiled faintly, but there was a serious look in her eyes. "I do not just mean my health, I mean the palace, the people, even the doubts in the court. I feel ready to face everything, and I want to face it with you by my side." Kale's expression softened. "I will be here, princess. I will support you as long as you need me." That morning, King Aranos summoned the entire court to the grand hall. Crystals glowed softly, projecting gentle colors across the marble floors. The court gathered, curiosity and tension in the air. They had all witnessed the princess's remarkable recovery, and now the king was prepared to make a public declaration. "Esteemed members of the court," King Aranos began, his voice strong and commanding. "For many days, my daughter, Princess Lyria, has been gravely ill. Our healers tried every method known to us, yet her condition worsened. Hope seemed lost. But today I stand before you to acknowledge a remarkable achievement." All eyes turned toward Kale, standing quietly at the edge of the hall. This human, Dr. Kale, came to our planet as a stranger. He knew nothing of our physiology, our culture, or our traditions. Yet he faced the impossible. With skill, patience, and courage, he saved my daughter's life when all others had failed. A ripple of surprise moved through the court. Some of the doubters gasped, while others whispered among themselves. "I declare," the king continued, "that Dr. Kale has earned not only my trust but my highest favor. Any who oppose him, question him, or attempt to undermine his work will answer to me directly. He has proven that courage and skill are not limited by species, and that sometimes the bravest hearts come from the most unexpected places." The hall fell silent, the weight of the king's words sinking in. Kale bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I do not seek favor or recognition. My only goal has been to save the princess's life. I am honored by your trust." King Aranos smiled faintly. "Honored? No. You have earned it, Kyle. You have earned it through your actions, your intelligence, and your courage." Princess Lyria stepped forward, her glowing blue eyes fixed on Kale. I owe you my life," she said softly. "But more than that, you have taught me something I had forgotten. That courage, trust, and care can overcome even the most impossible challenges. You have changed my life." Kale shook his head gently. "I only helped you realize your own strength. The true credit belongs to you, princess." Yet the bond between them was clear. Not just doctor and patient, but two beings who had faced danger together, overcome fear, and survived. The court noticed the unspoken connection, and even the skeptical Elder Thaven looked on with quiet respect. After the formal declaration, the palace returned to its usual rhythm. Lyria resumed her daily duties, walking in the gardens, meeting advisors, and attending to court matters. Kale continued to monitor her health, though now in a less urgent capacity. His presence remained a reassurance not only to the princess but to the king himself. But not everyone had accepted Kale's new position. Some courtiers still harbored resentment, jealous of his favor and influence. They whispered in darkened hallways, questioning whether a human should hold so much sway over a princess in the royal household. One evening, as Kale prepared to leave the palace for a short walk, a messenger approached. "Sir Kale," he said nervously, "some advisors wish to speak with you." "Privately," Kale raised an eyebrow. Alone? The messenger nodded. Yes, sir. They claim they have. Questions about your methods and loyalty. Kyle sighed quietly. Very well. Let us meet. He followed the messenger to a small chamber near the palace library. Inside, a group of advisors waited, their expressions guarded. Elder Thavin stood among them, though he looked uneasy. Dr. Kale, one of the senior advisors, began. We respect your skill and acknowledge what you have done for the princess. But many here are concerned. Your methods, they are unfamiliar, even dangerous. And you are a human. How can we be certain your loyalty is not to your own interests? Kale met their gaze calmly. My loyalty is simple. To life, to the patient, and to what is right. I have no interest in power or influence. My duty is to save lives, and that duty is what brought me here. You may doubt me, but my actions have spoken. Princess Lyria is alive, healthy, and thriving. That is proof enough. The advisors murmured among themselves. Some remained skeptical, but the clarity and honesty in Kale's voice made it difficult to argue. Even Elder Thavin nodded slightly. Very well, Kale said. I will continue my work only in the interest of the princess's health and well-being. Anything beyond that is not my concern. Trust must be earned by actions, not assumptions. After the meeting, Kale returned to Lyria. She looked at him with concern. Are you all right? She asked softly. I am, he said with a faint smile. Some challenges are not medical. They come in the form of doubt and jealousy. But they are manageable. Lyria reached for his hand, her fingers brushing his lightly. You have my trust, Kyle, always, and the king's favor. That will protect you as well. You are not alone here. Kyle nodded, feeling a quiet sense of relief. The princess's words meant more than any declaration or favor. He had earned not only trust and respect, but also a genuine bond with someone who mattered deeply. Days turned into weeks, and Kale continued to care for Lyria, though now their work was less urgent and more about maintaining her health. The palace began to see him not as an outsider, but as a trusted ally, someone whose courage and skill had saved a life and strengthened the royal family. One morning, as the twin suns of Lysara rose over the city, Lyria walked through the gardens with Kale. She stopped, turning to face him. Kyle, she said softly, you have done more than save my life. You have taught me courage, patience, and the power of trust. And you have changed this palace forever. The king favors you, the court respects you, and I cannot imagine life without you here. Kale looked at her quietly. I am honored, princess. My place is here with you as long as I am needed. That is enough for me. Lyria smiled, the light in her eyes reflecting the crystal gardens around them. Then we will face the future together, she said firmly. King Aranos, watching from a distance, felt pride and relief. His daughter had recovered, and the human who had saved her life had earned a place in the palace through courage, skill, and respect. He knew that humans, despite being outsiders, could bring something unique and valuable. In Kale, he had found not only a savior for his daughter, but also an ally he could trust completely. The palace shimmered in the light of Lysara's twin suns, and life moved forward. Princess Lyria was healthy again. The court had learned the value of courage and care beyond tradition, and Kale had earned a place in the hearts of the royal family. In the quiet of the gardens, Kale and Lyria walked side by side, two beings from different worlds united by trust, courage, and the bond formed through facing impossible challenges together. The human had not only saved a life, but had also proven that bravery, skill, and compassion could transcend species and change the course of the future. And so, in the palace of Lysara, a life had been saved, a human had won the king's favor, and hope shone brighter than ever before.